Welcome to the Sexual Life Podcast. I am Steve Mayeda, and this is a podcast that is going to teach you how to socialize, connect with people at the deepest level, using ourselves, using them in a simple way where just in 30 seconds, 2 minutes, no more than 2 minutes, you'll be able to talk to the deepest part of somebody and go in the directions that you want. That's a pretty useful tool, and it's something that we've taught over and over and over again, and you can do it, and I want you to do it, so listen up. That all being said, the TSL Podcast is all about being sexual, being social, living in an expressive way where we're pro-sex, man. You know, if you're a guy and you want to get laid more, you want to get over your issues about sexuality and those things, this is what this podcast is all about. But we also have the Daily Awesome Podcast, which shares a YouTube channel with the TSL Podcast, which focuses on men's development. On that YouTube channel, we have over 700 videos talking about stuff like this that breaks it down for so many different things that you could imagine that all come from the calls that we have as our group. So if you want to know more about that stuff, you got to click the free stuff link down below this video, as well as down below this video are the annotations. So the little slides where we write about all this sort of stuff are there for you to read and look at in case we miss anything, because it's all done in one take. This is done live on a call. It's actually September 27th, I believe. Let me double check here. 27th, 2017, and we're on a TSL Online call, and this is how we do it, man. So let's get into this. Conversational dynamics. How are we going to get there? We actually had a question talking about the tipping points of rapport, and there's a video that we recorded a couple weeks ago on that that's really awesome that you should check out. Maybe I'll link to it if I remember. But the tipping points of rapport is a huge, huge concept where we look at either unique values of somebody, we stimulate a choice with them, or we elicit a value that they have about themselves. So it's actually unique qualities, And when we talk about those things, when we get in a conversation about those things, it makes it so it's much easier for that person to reveal their real self. When we're talking to the real self of somebody, we can move very quickly in a conversation. So imagine this. You're talking to somebody and all of a sudden they start talking about something that you really value and you get into it and you feel open to get into it and it feels good to get into it. You're not all heated about some political horrible thing. This is something that you're allowed to talk about. It's cool. And then all of a sudden somebody says, wow, I liked you, but I like you even more because of what you just expressed about yourself. That's amazing. And so that's how rapport can work, and it can work very quick, and we're really built for it. So that being said, we were also talking about something in TSL Online. So if you don't know about TSL Online, you should really check it out. It's an amazing course. It combines so many different things. You being you, connecting and rapport in ways that you've never even imagined that are just so awesome, like we're going to cover here. But also seduction is taught better than anything else that I've ever seen in that course. But probably the most important thing is the camaraderie. We have boards where everybody gets to know each other. They meet up, they fly all over the world and hang out with each other. And then we have calls, lots of calls, multiple times a week. You don't have to be on all of them. It's like a community. It's cool. You pop in and out and we're all equal value. It's cool stuff. So we were talking about week 2 and talking about attraction. Attraction is the topic of week 2 where we inventory that about ourselves. So not to tangent off too much, but when we talk about topics, it's not so much as that these topics are tools for us to trick somebody or manipulate them or get sexual with them or so on. And some of them might help with those things. Those are all parts of social dynamics. You know, they happen, right? But really, those topics are topics that are deep and rich where somebody can elicit a unique quality, a value about themselves, or stimulate a decision based off of that, make choice happen with there. So in those inventories that we do on what's attractive about us, what we find attractive in women, what we find physically, mentally, emotionally attractive, how we interact with that sort of attraction has a therapeutic quality in going through it, which is really, really powerful. But more importantly, it allows us to explore the depth of connecting with somebody. So this may sound like a lot. You guys are going like, okay, where's this how can I connect with somebody in 2 minutes sort of thing? It's coming. So let's just go with this. What am I attracted to? It changes, but I'm attracted to girls with brown hair. It's actually funny because one of my buddies, I walk around with him in Austin quite a bit, and he loves blonde girls. And I all women are attractive, but those girls walk by me and I'm just, okay, girl. I don't really notice much. And he's like, oh my God, look at that. I was like, what are you talking about? But then when a brunette girl or a Latina walks by me, I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know. Okay. I guess they're hot, cool. And that's kind of how it works. It's really interesting. So when I think about that, what do I like? What do I find attractive? I think their faces. I think their skin tone. Everybody likes good tits, but I'm not a huge tit guy. Everybody likes nice legs. I'm not a huge leg guy. Different types of body shapes and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's attractive. But then also, if I talk about that in the depth of it, it's like what's beautiful about that isn't just a perfect breast or a perfect face. It's actually how I interact with that face. So a woman can have beauty. So this is stuff I've really inventoried about myself. A woman can have beauty, but what really makes that beauty something more is then when I influence it. So that could be when I tell a story, when I share a certain thing about my life, or when we're having sex. Oh, one of the most beautiful things, right? That like those are awesome things. So in me discovering those parts about myself and the depth of how I'm attracted to those physical things of her, these are all conversation topics. These are all things that if I can get her to understand, man, I can get that unique quality. I can get a decision or a choice to be stimulated. I can get a value from that. And when I can get that, that's pretty cool. And now topically, it's also kind of cool because it does have a sexual nature, but that's not really what it makes it switch to sex. So let's go through this, right? And of course, in our inventories, we go through the mental and emotional parts that we think are attractive. But for time purposes, let's stay with the physical. Plus, we're guys, and guys love talking about nice asses, nice tits, oh man, a woman's body. That's why we're men. That's why we're men, because we like that shit. I don't know if that fully makes sense, but you get it. So how would I bring this up in a conversation? How do I steer towards this? And this is the big problem, because if we just talk about it, how guys understand this is like, man, those are some tits you want to stick your dick in between. You say that to a girl. Now, maybe if you're a really suave dude, maybe you can pull that off, but most likely no. But how do we explain this? How do we get this to happen, right? So there's all these principles of social dynamics that we got to kind of jump over really quick here in order to make it happen. But things like, man, when somebody understands us, they can't judge us. That means if they understand our perspective and they can understand really where we're coming from, if they can relate with it, they don't judge us. They can choose not to like us, but it's not an immediate stop or a halt. So this is one of the great concepts that allows us to talk about sex. Okay, so we can get somebody to understand our perspective. And that's something that's pretty easy to do. So this is going to be one of the first things that I cover when I want to go in this direction of what I'm attracted to and then how it relates to her, hit that rapport, and then be able to, boom, dive in with the intent, which is really going to make it work. And if she exchanges that intent back, bedroom guys, set up a date, we're going to make this shit happen. So how do we pull this all off? What is happening here is, let's say I meet somebody, however we talk to them in TSL, we always start with a stack that kind of comes off of very simple, very normal and socializing, not revolving around pressure, not revolving around getting something, but around getting enough of somebody to pay attention to us to build that connection. That's step one. So in order to do that, I might do a stack like say hello, to doing a buffer, to asking a doubting question. These are all techniques, and these are in multiple videos. So watch the videos in the social dynamics playlist. Right there. Social dynamics playlist. It'll help you out with all of this stuff. But we could say like, hey, what situation are we in? Let's choose. And I always like easy ones. I was actually at a cafe earlier today, and there was a girl reading a book. I said, hey, man, that's a good book, and I knew the book. I said, so why? I want to know, why are you reading this? All right, so I said, hello, that's a good book, but I want to know, why are you reading this? And in that, I said it in a way where it was like, there's more behind the question that I'm asking. So it has the feel of a lot of the baits we talk about or the doubting questions, but this allows intrigue to happen. It's a very passive, casual environment. So why are you reading the book? That's kind of interesting. And she actually said, I'm reading this book because I want to experiment in relationships. And this was actually an anthropology book. And I said, really? That's crazy. Man, so I have a lot to say about that, but tell me more. Like, how do you want to experiment? And she goes, well, my boyfriend and I are talking about different open relationships. I said, oh, really? So have you ever done it? All right. So very simply, I'm already into a conversation. I've already accomplished the goal of somebody paying attention to me. Now at a cafe and those things, these are very easy. Look, if you start going like, well, what about at a club? What about when she's with 10 dudes and there's like knives being drawn and she has AIDS, but you have the cure? Like, what? Dude, I'm not talking about all this sort of shit. Like, pickup makes things overly complex. I'm trying to teach you social dynamics that will work in those environments, but the important thing is we want to make them work. So I made them work in a cafe, do it all the time. I do it all the time in clubs too, but we want to look at how this social dynamic works and build some faith in it and understand it. So that's what I always recommend guys to do. So this happened, we talked about the book, she's explaining her open relationship thing that she's never tried. And I basically say, well, look, let me ask you something. Like, when it comes down to it, you guys want to experiment in this other thing. And there's all sorts of reasons why. And I get why I've done it so many times. And I get why a lot of my friends have done it. And I want to hear why you've done it. But is it that you're attracted to like different things about men? What is it? And she actually went on this trip. This is great. It's amazing. This was just handed to me. But again, conversations will be handed to you the more you get to understand yourself and the different topics that you like to talk about. This one happened to be one that I really love to talk about. And she said, it's not about that. It's like, I'm attracted to other people and I'm attracted to him and I'm attracted to these things. So I just cut her off because I kind of already knew the answer. I've had this conversation quite a bit. And I said, you know what it is? It's that when you have to confine your choice to just be him, it almost like limits an expression of you. So in a way, like a lot of people decide to do open relationships by, because they want to fully express who they are and not have it limited to something, but also have the love and emotional connection and all this other sort of stuff that comes down to it. But I wanted to stay even more on that physical attraction. And I like talking about sex, right? And we're not there yet. We're talking about stuff topically. I haven't really gotten anything from really her and who she is sexually. And I haven't really shared anything about me and who I am sexually. That's what's going to get you the rapport, right? And right now we're probably like edging along that 2 minute, well, more like a minute and a half area in a conversation. That's how quickly this moved in this cafe setting. And so I want to go, look, because I want to get somebody to understand me, right? I want to work that principle where somebody can see me as a human being so they make choices about me rather than see me as an object. And the best way to not make yourself an object is don't make sex or somebody else's ideas an object. Pretty important, pretty genius stuff there. So I want to make her understand me. So I say, well, look, here's my thing is I'm not trying to be inappropriate here. I'm trying to talk about sex, but I'm going to tell you about my sex life. So that there is a buffer. That there is me putting in some doubt. We also said a doubting question. I don't know if I can ask you this, but I'm going to talk about my sex life and I'm not trying to be offensive, but that allows me to now jump in a conversation to some harder topics. But because I've humanized myself first and really done it because like I want her to see me as a human, because I've done that, it will make it easier for me to hurdle then into a deeper conversation or a conversation that might be really graphic. So it's like, look, for me, I love faces. I love bodies, and I've never really been a tits and ass kind of guy. And I don't say that to offend you, but there's something about when I affect that. Like a woman's face is the most beautiful thing, but if it's just walking by, that's nothing. It's like when I affect it, but when I affect it most is, and I'm saying this again, more buffer. I'm saying this again, not to offend you, but just, I want to ask you something about it, but it's right when we're about to have sex. Right when my dick goes in, to me, that is the most that is when I see her potential for beauty. Like it's better even than her orgasm because it's like how we have sunk up. And the same thing with her tits or her breasts or whatever. Like a woman's pussy can look attractive, a woman's breast can look attractive, but how they interact with me is so awesome. I mean, this is the problem. I think because people don't talk about this, we get shackled in relationships, and then we think it's inappropriate. Then we start feeling these things. We think it's a taboo, and oh my God, it's horrible. And she's just nodding her head. Yeah. So what happens here is now I've created a situation which is very graphic that a lot of people don't talk about in terms of sex. But what's important here is not the topic of sex. Okay, that's not that might turn her on, but it's not through me. It's through her imagining things personally, and that's like this NLP shit, which is, kind of effective. But what's effective, what I'm looking for is her relationship, which she can share with me, her relationship to those things, and how she as a person may have values around that, where she may stimulate choice around that, or I might notice a unique quality about her with that. All right. So me saying these things, a lot of people always, whenever they hear me with like live demonstration stuff, they go, oh man, Steve is talking about sex and that turns a woman on. She might get into that state, but it's not connected to me. I want that rapport connection. That's the key. So a way where I could get that through noticing a unique quality, probably the easiest way there, but we'll talk about some other ones, is I could be talking about some stuff about going like, a woman's tits, and but it's how it reacts to me is the thing, and she's nodding her head, and I could be like, you think crazy, you think dirty stuff, you think, man, I'm talking to the right person or the wrong person. So now I kind of took my foot off the gas, did a little bit of what you might call in social dynamics is a tease or a neg or something like that, some device of push pull to break up the space. That's the least important part. The most important part is you think this. I notice this unique thing about you, about how you interact. And so because that's the most important thing, the unique quality, I have to back it with that and just say, okay, well, wait, tell me this. I want to ask you a real question now. So once I did that little tease, that letting off the gas, I go right back to it. Because the tease is just a small device. It's not important. That's not why, the connection is happening. It's really that unique viewpoint that I'm trying to dig at. It's like, oh man, I'm saying the right thing. You know what I'm talking about. You're probably thinking about some crazy shit. And I don't even fucking want to know what your fantasies are about, because they might put me in jail just being next to you thinking about that shit. So it's a joke, right? But then I want to come down from that and say, but let me really ask you, is what is it that you just wanted, that you want to do, you like thinking about, that like, fuck man, you think it'll make a guy afraid of you. You think your boyfriend would be afraid of you. Like, what is that? What is it? You can tell a stranger that just like gets your pussy wet or whatever. And I'm not trying to offend you, but you know what I'm talking about. That if you brought up to your boyfriend, would just be like, you're actually like, you might feel like a little bit of shame thinking about it. That's why it's easier to talk to a stranger. This then is that unique quality. Now she may not even answer that. But most likely she'll try to, but it's a thought, especially with something that might have to do with shame or something that she doesn't elaborate much on. Like, it's going to be hard for her to articulate. So the important thing is that her feeling comes out then. And when her feeling comes out, then I can say stuff like, man, whatever it is, I don't know what it is, but it's hot as fuck. So I can start to state intent. That's fucking cool, man. We should hang out. I don't fucking care. And what I want in the hangout especially is the situation, rather than like an agreement to some contractual date or an agreement to have sex. Socializing, sex, empathy, seduction, all these things are non-logical things that we want, that situations create much more, and feelings and expressions and all these things that don't live in the world of contracts or streets or rows or whatever, all this sort of stuff. So let's go from another angle. Let's say I'm talking about the boobs and the face and how it interacts with me, and I don't want to offend you, and that we're backing up to that sort of thing. But I want to now stimulate a decision. I want to stimulate a choice. I want to stimulate something where I am now, which is kind of the most confusing part of the tipping points of rapport. And again, we have a lot of videos on that, and you should definitely check out the Social Dynamics playlist. But in that, what I want to say then is something like, I'm gonna tell you something, but I want you to I don't know if I could do this. So once again, walking in with that doubting question, right? Walking in with that buffer, because it's going to allow me to hurdle and jump more into, excuse me, a deeper and more rich conversation. So I could say then I now start asking qualifiers like, so what is it for you that is something that, man, not necessarily taboo, you may just like it, but if you told your boyfriend about it, like it might, like an action might have to do with him, like And so now I'm going to list some threes. It's another rapport technique. So when I talk about a topic that's deep and hard for somebody to answer, I want to help them in so many ways to be able to answer that, right? So just to make it clear, I ask a question like, what is it that's hard for you to like articulate? It might even be hard to like share with your boyfriend. It might even have to do with him. Now I'm going to list some threes because that's a tough question, right? If you're thinking about that right now, Steve, I can't answer that shit. Like, what am I afraid of? I'm going to tell fucking strangers? Jesus Christ. So I'm just going to walk it through with some things that I know from my identity workbook, which is, part of week 2, to start stimulating it. And I'm going to do it in a technique called listing threes. So 3 easy options for them to be able to imagine this, visualize it, and basically say yes to it. So I'll say something like for instance, like, man, I mean, like, I have a certain type of pussy that I like, but I like the imperfections in certain girls' pussies, like, or maybe his dick is something that you actually like, or maybe, how he doesn't make you come, so that makes you like chase it more, or maybe like how what you masturbate to might be like being fucked, or like take it like stranded out in the jungle and like some military militia just like rapes you or something, or some crazy fantasy like that. But like something like that allows you to just, I don't know, just takes you to a whole different level. All right. So now I'm just walking down that thought, that situation, that something in her mind is deep or more than just a surface level conversation, getting there very quickly. And man, I have conversations like this all the time, people, and you can definitely do it. Now, you might not want to go sexual, but the social dynamics are the key thing. So the cool thing is when you do TSL Online, you can literally take the topics of self-perception, attraction, social perception, your desires, your career, your family life. You could plug and play any of those topics into this sort of like social dynamic structure. So there, I'm now getting her to imagine those things, like the imperfections in his sexuality, or the different fantasies that she may have, and so on, to be able to just think of those. And that may not be the thing, but I want to stimulate a choice. And this is the most powerful, in my mind, to work quickly in a rapport setting. So I'm going to do something here to stimulate that choice, that decision. And in this case, the decision that she's making to continue to have the conversation with me. All right. So rather than walk away, and how important the decision to have the conversation with me is. So I want to stimulate that. So I'm going to say, wait, before you answer that, you don't need to answer that. Because if you answer this and you show me your real self, I'm gonna take you out. So when I know you're thinking about your crazy shit, man. But when you tell me, I already like you, but I'm gonna like you that much more. And so if you do, like, that's some crazy shit. Like, anyway, so it's all you. We're going to shake hands and go away, or are you going to tell me what you really fucking think with your pussy instead of your brain? What is that? All right, so now moving to it to get that decision to be made. Now that choice and decision to happen, right? And again, guys, we do some crazy shit here at TSL, right? We do some advanced shit. I expect you, if you're a part of our groups or if you're watching these videos and really studying it, you can do this. Actually, if you're on our groups, you can do this. You guys at home watching this on the YouTube or iTunes or whatever, you're like, oh man, this is too crazy. No, you can do this. You give yourself a couple weeks with the right sort of guidance and coaching and structure. You can do this. So in doing this, I want you to know that she doesn't even need to answer you. All she needs to do is start thinking of like, I could tell you and it would mean that. So I could tell you, and I'm starting to now imagine or think what it would be like if I told you and then we did go on a date. That's all the choice and decision I need. And man, that's some like lock-in shit. That is some crazy stuff. That's some stuff that kind of rapport is the kind of rapport where she could go back, fuck her boyfriend, experiment with her open relationship, fuck some other dudes, get fucking fucked in ways that she's never had anal sex, or, been Tupperware partied with like 3 dicks at once or whatever it is. That's when you seal all the holes. And, she's never done that, but she'll still be like, but man, there's that guy. I wish he would call me. I want to experience that. It's very intense rapport when we can stimulate a decision or a choice like that. So the next one is actually eliciting a value. So we go through that same sort of stacking process of like, I'm gonna tell you this, but I don't know, but yeah, I'm not trying to be offensive. You know, women are beautiful, but God, they're sexy, and I like to think about them sexually. But let me ask you this, like, let me ask you this, like, what is it? So when you think about, because I know you think about dirty stuff. So I'm trying to get into rapport. I'm trying to get her to open up to me, to understand me, and for her to open up so I can understand her. And I say, like, I know you think about some crazy shit. I know, like, look, when you make a dude come, when you make just some random guy you hook up with or whatever come, you have a certain feeling. And then, and you know exactly what I'm talking about because they do know. That's something they'll get right away, right? But then I say, but you make your boyfriend come. You make him come after like the 30th time of being in bed with them. There's a different you behind that. What's that value? What's that part of you? And so now I'm trying to elicit a value. What's that part of you that's with him? That goes into all those things that happen after he comes. Like you comfort him, you make him feel better, you share love, you share, like, what is that? What does that mean? And again, hard question. She may not be able to articulate. I'm not even going to wait till listing of threes because in a way it's a hard question to elaborate on, but it's an easy question for them to say. They'll say something like, that's love, that's commitment, that's what I feel for him in the deepest way. And now I can state intent towards that, even though it has to do with him. Even though I can say, man, that's beautiful. That is fucking hot. Now, let's say I even wanted to take it further. Let's say I want to stimulate a choice and say, like, look, I know you're in a relationship, all this sort of stuff. I want to hang out with you. And I'm a gentleman and can be a gentleman, and I want to hang out with you. But give me your phone. Let's exchange numbers. I'm going to call you. Just know if you pick up that phone, I can be a friend. But I'm always a friend that wants, fuck, dude, I want to smell what your pussy smells like right now because there's some shit moving on right now. It's like, fuck, man. That's some crazy, like that. Anyway, just know that if you pick up that phone, once again, stimulating that decision. If you pick up that phone, what you're answering to is a gentleman with a hat on, but when that hat comes off, he can be an animal. In any case, this is how we want to work rapport. This is how we want to work certain topics and move in them. In this one, it was a topic of sex, but you could literally do it with anything. And a lot of times people like talking about sex because they think it's impossible. Now, again, the most important part of that is how can we get the dynamic of understanding each other and building a connection rather than talking about certain things or even the low social dynamics like teases or negs or even the baits of the doubting questions and so on. Those are just tools which help us get to that rapport. And very quickly, in a period of 2 minutes, we can hit really hard. And in a period of 5 minutes, they've now emoted more and really, that conversation today, which was a little bit different than how I painted out here, but still did get very deep, very quick, was more like a 4-minute conversation where she's already given me everything that I need to be like, hey, I can fucking smell your pussy through your pants and I can see it in your fucking eyes. And if you think you're hiding what you think, like I could jump there very, very quick to some sort of intent and exchange of intent. Now, a lot of this might be confusing to you if you're new at social dynamics. One of the best things that you can do, obviously, is TSL Online and how we've restructured it and made it easier to access for everybody. But you might not, if you're just watching this for the first time on YouTube or listening on iTunes or Stitcher, and you're like, man, you might want to invest in something smaller. Men's Development Excellence is one of the best courses, and you can find out about it on the free stuff link. Now, that's not free, but there's plenty of free stuff there. There's courses on social dynamics that you should check out that are free. There's PDFs and so on. But the Men's Development Excellence is key for this. And the reason why it is because it has courses in there, it has interaction, and it also includes calls. It's like the baby version of TSL Online, where guys can interact with you, they can work with you, they can help you out on the Facebook group. There's literally 24-hour support on it, and it's really something that, if this is something that you want to fix in your life and you want a real guarantee, not just the guarantee of me saying it, but multiple guys saying, no, man, we do this stuff. We live this way sexually. We live this way socially. We gain confidence. We don't get all that PUA fucked upness about it. Like, that is a great place to start. And it's a great place to invest in, and it's a great thing to do to start taking actions to live a better social and sexual life that leads into a complete better man. So definitely check that stuff out. Like I said, the annotations are down below. Like I also said, subscribe to our channel. When you do that, if you actually subscribe to it, that little link turns gray and there's a bell. If you click that bell, it'll actually notify you when we put up new videos that are like this on social dynamics or sexual escalation and so on. And that's a pretty cool feature there too. In any case, guys, I do this to help you guys out. I do this so that you have a better social and sexual life, so that you can be free, man, and be a great guy that lives with the riches of the fucking world, because it's awesome living in that way. In any case, man, talk to you guys soon. I'm Steve Mayeda signing off. This is the TSL Podcast. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk in just a bit.